Hello and welcome to the Best English Podcast. My name is Sophia, and I'm so happy you're here with me today. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a conversation in English and you knew what you wanted to say, but you felt stuck? You had the perfect sentence in your own language, but when you tried to say it in English, it felt slow and awkward. Maybe you found yourself pausing for a long time, searching for the right words. Your mind was working so hard, translating every single word from your native language into English. If this sounds like you, I want you to know that you are not alone. This is one of the most common challenges for English learners all over the world. Today, we are going to talk about a habit that might be holding you back from speaking English fluently and naturally. We are going to talk about translating in your head. And more importantly, we are going to learn how to stop doing it. This single change, this shift in your mindset, can completely transform your speaking skills. It's like taking off heavy weights that you didn't even know you were carrying. By the end of our time together today, you will have a clear path to thinking directly in English, so you can speak faster, more confidently, and much more naturally. It's time to unlock the fluent English speaker that is already inside you. So, get comfortable, and let's begin this journey together. So, what exactly is the problem with translating? Why is it something we need to stop? On the surface, it seems logical. You have a thought in your language, and you need to express it in another, so you translate. It's how we learn our first words in a new language. We see a picture of a cat, and we learn the English word is cat. We connect it to the word for cat in our own language. This is a useful tool for beginners. It helps build a basic vocabulary. But as you move past the beginner stage, this habit of translating becomes a major barrier. It prevents you from ever truly feeling comfortable and fluent. Let's think about what happens in your brain when you translate. Imagine you are talking to an American colleague at work. They ask you a simple question, like, "How was your weekend?" Now, instead of just answering, your brain goes through a very complicated four-step process. First, you hear the English words, "How was your weekend?" and you translate them into your native language. Second, you think of your answer in your native language. You might think something like, "It was good. I went to the park with my family." Third, you then translate your answer, word for word, back into English. And finally, fourth, you say the translated sentence out loud. This whole process might only take a few seconds, but in a real conversation, a few seconds is a very long time. Conversations move quickly. While you are busy translating, the other person is waiting. You might feel stressed. You might see the other person's expression change, and you start to feel nervous. This pressure makes it even harder to find the right words. Speaking English becomes a slow, stressful, and tiring task. It feels like hard work instead of a natural way to connect with someone. Think of it like this. Imagine you want to run a race. But before you can run, you have to solve a math problem for every single step you take. You would be so slow, right? You would be exhausted after just a few feet. You'd be so focused on solving the math problems that you couldn't enjoy the feeling of running. That is exactly what you are doing when you translate in your head. The conversation is the race, and translating is the unnecessary math problem you are forcing your brain to solve with every single word. Native English speakers don't do this. Their thoughts and words flow together in one smooth motion. Our goal is to get you to that same point. Now, besides making you slow, translating causes another big problem. It makes your English sound unnatural. This is because every language has its own structure, its own rhythm, and its own unique way of putting words together. When you translate directly from your language to English, you are often forcing the rules and patterns of your language onto English, and the result is sentences that might be grammatically correct, but sound strange or awkward to a native speaker. Let me give you a very common example. In many languages like Spanish or French, you would say something that translates to, "I have 30 years" to state your age. So a learner might translate this directly and say in English, "I have 30 years old." An American listener will understand what you mean, but it will sound incorrect. It's a clear sign that you are translating. The natural, correct way to say it in English is "I am 30 years old." English uses the verb to be for age, not the verb to have. This is a small difference, but there are thousands of these small differences. Let's imagine a story about a man named Carlos. Carlos moved to the United States from Mexico. His English vocabulary was pretty good, and he could understand most of what he read. But speaking was very difficult for him. One day, he decided to go to a local coffee shop to practice. He stood in line, rehearsing his order in his head. He thought in Spanish, "Quiero un café grande con leche." Then he started translating. Quiero means I want. Un is a. Café is coffee. Grande is large. Con is with. Leche is milk. So he put it all together. I want a coffee large with milk. When it was his turn to order, he nervously said to the barista, "Hello, I want a coffee large with milk." The barista, a friendly young woman, smiled and said, "Sure, one large latte coming up." Carlos was confused. He didn't say latte, but he was too nervous to ask. He just paid and waited for his drink. The problem was his word order. In English, the adjective, the describing word like large, almost always comes before the noun, the thing it describes, like coffee. So a native speaker would always say a large coffee, not a coffee large. It's a small mistake, but it immediately signals to the listener that Carlos is thinking in another language. It creates a tiny barrier in the communication. Carlos felt this barrier. He felt like he wasn't really connecting. He was just delivering translated words. This happens with so many common phrases. Think about how you say you are hungry. In French, you might say j'ai faim, which translates directly to I have hunger. If you say I have hunger in English, it sounds very formal and unnatural, like something from an old book. The simple, natural way is I am hungry. Again, English uses the verb to be. Or think about agreeing with someone. If someone says, "I don't like scary movies," and you also don't like them, in many languages you might say something like, "Me too." But in this case, in English, "me too" is used for positive statements. For a negative statement like this, the natural response is "me neither." These examples of single phrases are just the beginning. The problem becomes even bigger in real, fast-moving social conversations. Let's talk about a young woman named Anya. Anya was a brilliant science student from Poland who came to a university in California for a semester. She was excited to make American friends. Her academic English was excellent. She could read scientific papers and write complex essays. But she quickly realized that social English, the English spoken between friends at lunch, was a completely different language. One afternoon, she was sitting with a group of students from her class. One of them, a friendly guy named Ben, was talking about an exam they just had. Ben laughed and said, "I was so worried about that test, but it turned out to be a piece of cake." Anya was completely confused. A piece of cake? She looked around the table, but there was no cake. She thought, why is he talking about cake? Was there cake after the exam? Did I miss it? She spent so much time trying to translate the literal words and understand the connection to the exam that she completely missed the next part of the conversation. She just sat there silently, feeling lost. Of course, a piece of cake is a common American idiom that simply means something was very easy. But because Anya was translating it word for word, the meaning was lost. A few minutes later, another student was talking about her plans for the weekend. She said, "My friends want to go hiking, but I'm kind of on the fence about it." In Anya's mind, she pictured the girl literally sitting on top of a wooden fence. She thought, why would she be sitting on a fence? Is this a story? It was another moment of complete confusion. She didn't realize on the fence just meant she was undecided or unsure about what to do. These moments kept happening. Her friends would tell a joke, and by the time Anya translated it in her head, the literal words made no sense. The joke wasn't funny. Everyone would laugh, and Anya would just give a small, nervous smile, pretending she understood. She felt like she was always a few seconds behind everyone else, stuck in her own head, constantly translating and analyzing. She felt lonely and isolated, even when she was surrounded by people. Her excellent English vocabulary wasn't helping her connect. Anya's problem shows us that translating fails completely with idioms, slang, and humor. These parts of language are not based on literal meanings. They are based on shared culture and images. When you try to translate "it's raining cats and dogs" word for word, it sounds absurd. You have to learn the chunk, "it's raining cats and dogs," as one single idea that means it's raining very hard. These examples, from Carlos ordering coffee to Anja trying to make friends, show us that language is not just a collection of words that you can switch out one for one. A language is a complete system. It's a different way of seeing the world and expressing ideas. When you learn to think in English, you start to learn this system from the inside. You begin to develop a feel for what sounds right and what sounds wrong. You stop building sentences word by word, and you start using chunks of language, entire phrases that native speakers use all the time without even thinking about it. For Carlos at the coffee shop, a native speaker wouldn't even think about the individual words. They would just think of the phrase, "a large coffee with milk," as one complete block. For Anya's friends, a piece of cake is one block of meaning. Getting you to think in these chunks, these blocks of English, is the key to fluency. It's how you will finally stop translating and start truly speaking. So, how do we do it? How do we get our brains to see these chunks of language instead of just single, separate words? To understand that, we need to understand a little bit about how our amazing brains learn. When it comes to language, your brain has two different ways of working. Think of them as two different modes. You have your student mode, and you have your native speaker mode. Your student mode is the conscious part of your brain. It's the part that loves rules, studies grammar charts, and makes long lists of vocabulary words. When you are translating, you are using your student mode. It's working very hard, analyzing everything, and carefully building sentences piece by piece. Just like we talked about, this mode is logical and organized, but it is also very, very slow. It's like building a model airplane by reading the instruction manual for every single tiny piece you attach. You can build the airplane, but it takes a lot of time and intense focus. And you would never be able to build it fast enough to fly alongside a real airplane in the sky. Then, there is your native speaker mode. This is the subconscious, automatic part of your brain. This is the mode you used as a child to learn your first language. Did you sit in a classroom and study grammar rules when you were 3 years old? Of course not. You learned by listening, by observing, by connecting words to actions and feelings. You didn't learn the rule that adjectives come before nouns. You just heard your parents say a big dog or a red ball thousands of times until it felt natural. Your brain did all the hard work in the background, recognizing patterns and absorbing the language as a whole. This native speaker mode is incredibly fast, intuitive, and it doesn't get tired. It just knows what sounds right. The secret to fluency, the real key to speaking English faster and more naturally, is to learn how to switch from your slow, hard-working student mode to your fast, effortless native speaker mode. The problem is, translating keeps you stuck in student mode. Every time you translate, you are telling your brain, hey, use the slow, analytical process. Check the rules, match the words. You are practicing the habit of analyzing, not the skill of speaking. To activate your native speaker mode, you have to give it a chance to work. You have to feed it with real English. And you have to start thinking directly in English, even if it's just simple thoughts at first. Let's use another example. Think about learning to drive a car. When you first start, you are completely in student mode. You think about every single action consciously. Okay, first I put my foot on the brake, then I press the start button. Now I need to check my mirrors. Okay, mirrors are good. Now I move the gear shift to drive. Now I slowly lift my foot off the brake. It's a long, stressful process. You can't listen to music or talk to anyone. All of your mental energy is focused on just driving. But what happens after you've been driving for a few years? You get in the car and you just drive. You don't think about the steps anymore. You can talk to a friend, listen to a podcast, and drink your coffee, all while driving safely. Your native speaker mode, or in this case, your expert driver mode, has taken over. The actions have become automatic. You see a red light ahead, and your foot moves to the brake before you even consciously think. I should brake now. Speaking a language fluently is exactly the same. You want to get to the point where the words just come out, automatically, without consciously thinking about grammar rules or translating each word. You want to make speaking English as automatic as driving your car. And the way to do that is to practice thinking in English, which trains that subconscious, automatic part of your brain. Let me tell you about a woman named Maria. Maria is a very smart computer programmer from Brazil who got a great job at a tech company in Austin, Texas. Her technical skills were amazing, but she was very quiet in team meetings. The meetings were fast-paced. Her American colleagues would discuss complex ideas, And by the time Maria had translated what they said into Portuguese, and then formed her own idea in Portuguese, and then tried to translate her idea back into English, the conversation had already moved on to a new topic. She felt frustrated. She knew she had good ideas, but she couldn't share them in time. She was stuck in student mode. One day, her manager gave her some friendly advice. He said, "Maria, I know you have great ideas. I want you to try something. For the next week, don't worry about speaking in the meetings. Just listen. But don't just listen for the meaning. Listen for the exact phrases the other engineers use over and over again." So Maria did that. She took a notebook to every meeting and wrote down the exact phrases she heard. She heard things like, "Let's put a pin in that for now," which she learned meant let's pause discussion on this topic. She heard, "What's the bandwidth for this project?" which meant, do we have enough time or people to do this? She heard, "Let's circle back to this offline," which meant let's discuss this privately later, not in the big group meeting. She filled pages of her notebook with these chunks of English. At night, she would review them. She practiced saying them out loud. She didn't translate them into Portuguese. She just connected the English phrase directly to the situation in the meeting. "Let's put a pin in that" became connected to the feeling of stopping a discussion. The next week, in a meeting, two engineers started a long debate about a small detail. The meeting was running late. Maria saw her chance. She took a deep breath and said, "Maybe we can put a pin in that for now and circle back to it offline." The room went quiet for a second. Then her manager smiled and said, "Great idea, Maria. Let's do that." For the first time, Maria felt like she was a part of the conversation, not just a spectator. She didn't translate. She used a complete English chunk that she had absorbed. She had successfully used her native speaker mode. This small victory gave her a huge boost of confidence. She started doing it more and more, and her speaking became faster and much more natural over time. Maria's story shows us the way. The path to fluent speaking is not through more translation, but through less. It's about training your brain to recognize and use these patterns and phrases, these chunks of language, directly in English. So now the big question is, how do we do this? How can we, like Maria, start to train our brains to think in English and use this powerful, subconscious native speaker mode? Well, there are many practical techniques and exercises you can use to build this new habit. This isn't just about wishing it would happen, it's about active practice. The first and most important technique is learning to think directly in English. This is the foundation for everything else. It might sound difficult, maybe even impossible at first, but I promise you it is a skill you can learn. And the secret is to start small, very, very small. You don't start by trying to think about complex ideas or philosophy in English. You start with a single word. So, here is your first exercise, your first level of practice. I call it the labeling game. It's simple. I want you to try this with me, right now. Wherever you are, just look around the room. Pick one object. Maybe it's the chair you are sitting on. In your mind, I want you to say the English word, chair. Don't say the word in your native language first. Try to make the English word the very first thought that comes into your head when you see the object. Look at the table and think. Table. Look at the light in your room and think. Lamp. Look out the window and think. tree, or car, or sky. This is a game you can play anywhere, anytime. Turn it into a daily habit. When you are in your kitchen, do a kitchen scan. For 2 minutes, just look and label. Fork, plate, refrigerator, window, water. When you are walking outside, play street view. Building, door, sidewalk, bicycle, green light. You are building a direct connection between the world around you and the English language. You are creating a small bridge between an object and its English name. And more importantly, you are bypassing the long, slow road of translation. Do this for just 5 minutes every day. This is level 1. It's simple, but it is so powerful because it begins to retrain your brain. Once you feel comfortable with single words, once it starts to feel a little more natural to see a book and immediately think book, it's time for level 2. Now, we are going to move from single words to very simple sentences. You are going to become the narrator of your own life. You will simply describe what you are doing, as you are doing it, in your head, using the simplest English possible. Again, the key here is to keep it incredibly simple. We are not trying to write beautiful poetry. We are just building a new habit. Let's take a common daily routine, like getting ready in the morning. Your internal monologue, the little voice inside your head, could be in English. It would sound something like this. I am waking up now. I am tired. I am turning off my alarm. I am sitting up. My feet are on the floor. I am getting out of bed. As you walk to the bathroom, I am walking. I am opening the door. I am turning on the light. I am looking in the mirror. I am picking up my toothbrush. I am putting toothpaste on the brush. I am brushing my teeth now. You can do this with any activity, breaking it down into tiny steps. Let's say you are making your morning coffee. Your thoughts could be, I need coffee. I am walking to the kitchen. I am getting a mug. It is my favorite mug. I am opening the cabinet. I am taking the coffee. I am pouring hot water into the mug. I am watching the steam. Now I am adding some milk. I am stirring my coffee with a spoon. These sentences are so simple, almost like what a child would say. And that's perfect. That is exactly what we want. Don't worry about perfect grammar. If you make a mistake, it doesn't matter. Nobody can hear your thoughts. This is a safe space for you to practice. The goal is just to get used to the flow of English thoughts, one simple sentence at a time. After you have practiced this for a while, you can move to level 3. Now you can start describing your world and your feelings. You are moving from just narrating your actions to narrating your experience. You engage your senses. What do you see, hear, smell, and feel? So, you might be sitting in a park. Instead of just thinking tree, bench, dog, you can expand your thoughts. I am sitting on a bench. The sun is warm on my skin. I see a big tree. The leaves are green and they are moving in the wind. I hear birds singing. A man is walking his dog. The dog is small and white. The dog is running and looks happy. I feel happy. I feel peaceful. You are now creating a rich world of English inside your mind. You can also connect these observations to your feelings. Maybe you are looking out your window on a rainy day. Your thoughts could be, it is raining now. The sky is gray. I see the rain on the window. I hear the sound of the rain. It is a soft sound. The rain makes me feel calm. I feel a little sleepy. I want to drink a hot cup of tea. This is a powerful step because you are now connecting English directly to your emotions, making the language more personal and memorable. Now, let's add a fourth level for when you start feeling more confident. Level 4 is making simple decisions. Life is full of small choices. You can practice using your English inner voice to think through them. The goal is to make the entire decision-making process, from question to answer, happen in English. For example, you're getting dressed. What should I wear today? I can wear the blue shirt or the red shirt. The blue shirt is comfortable. The red shirt is new. I will wear the red shirt today. Yes, that is a good choice. Or deciding what to eat. I am hungry. I should eat lunch. Should I make a sandwich or a salad? A sandwich is fast. A salad is healthy. I want to be healthy today. I will make a salad. This might feel strange, but you are practicing a real-life thinking skill. You are moving from just describing your world to interacting with your world using English thoughts. Let's go back to our friend Carlos for a minute. After his embarrassing experience at the coffee shop, he was feeling down, but he decided to try these techniques. He started with level 1. It felt silly at first. He was a grown man, an engineer. And he was walking around his apartment thinking, this is a table, this is a sofa, but he kept doing it. Then he started level 2, narrating his actions. I am cooking. I am cutting onions. The onions make me cry. He laughed to himself. It was still silly, but it was also starting to work. The English words were coming to his mind a little faster. One morning, he was making breakfast and even tried level 4. I will have eggs today. Do I want scrambled eggs or fried eggs? Scrambled eggs are easy. I will make scrambled eggs. Then his phone rang. It was his American boss. Carlos answered, and his boss asked him a question. Without thinking, without translating, Carlos just answered. It was a simple answer, but it was fast, and it was natural. After he hung up the phone, he was shocked. He hadn't translated. He had just heard the English question, and his brain provided an English answer. That little bit of daily practice, thinking simple sentences in his head, was already starting to build that direct connection. He was activating his native speaker mode. This is not magic. It is training. It is giving your brain the right kind of exercise. This simple habit of thinking in English, starting with one word, then simple actions, then simple descriptions and decisions, is the most powerful tool you have to stop translating and start speaking. So you've started this foundational practice of thinking in English. That is fantastic. And now, we need to build the rest of the house. To truly stop translating, you need to make English a bigger part of your world. You need to create an environment where your brain is hearing, seeing, and using English so often that it starts to feel normal, even comfortable. This is called immersion. The reason immersion is so powerful is that it activates your brain's amazing ability for subconscious learning. Think about it. You don't need to be actively studying for your brain to be learning. When you surround yourself with English, your brain starts to absorb the patterns of the language without you even trying. It hears the music of the intonation, the rhythm of the sentences, and the common ways words fit together. It's like learning through osmosis. You are feeding your native speaker mode with a constant stream of information. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Sophia, I don't live in the United States or the UK. I can't immerse myself in English. And that's a common feeling. But today, with the power of technology, You can create a powerful English immersion environment right from your own home. You can create a personal English bubble. Let's start with the device you probably use more than any other, your smartphone. Here is a simple but very effective challenge for you. After you finish listening to this podcast, go into your phone's settings and change the language to English. I know this might feel a little scary at first, but you already know what the little icons for messages or the camera mean. By changing the language, you will see simple English words like settings, clock, messages, send, and cancel dozens of times a day. Soon, you won't even notice you're reading English. These words will become automatic. Next, expand this digital bubble to your computer. Change your computer's operating system language to English. Change the language in your web browser. Then, take one more step. Set your browser's homepage to an English language news website or a blog related to your interests. Instead of opening your browser to a page in your native language, you'll immediately see headlines in English. This one small change replaces a moment of comfort in your native language with a moment of practice in English. Then, do the same thing with your social media. Change the language settings on your Facebook, Instagram, TikTok to English. But don't stop there. Actively change the content you see. Follow a few American actors, musicians, or news pages. But also, find creators who make content about your hobbies. If you love cooking, follow an American chef. If you love video games, follow an English-speaking streamer. If you love gardening, follow a gardening channel from the UK or the US. This connects English to something you are already passionate about, which makes learning feel like fun, not work. Now let's talk about your ears. Your daily commute, your time exercising, or your time doing chores around the house can all become learning time. First, there's music. Find some American or British singers you like and listen to their songs. But let's make it an active exercise. Each week, pick one new song. For the first few days, just listen and enjoy the music. Then, look up the lyrics online. Read the lyrics as you listen to the song. You'll be amazed at the words you recognize. Finally, try to sing along. Singing is fantastic practice for your pronunciation and for learning natural contractions like gonna instead of going to. Beyond music, the world of podcasts and audiobooks is your greatest immersion tool. There is an English language podcast for every interest in the world. Do you like history, true crime, science, comedy? Find a popular podcast on a topic you love and start listening. Because you are already interested in the topic, you will be more motivated to understand. At first, you might only catch 50% of what is said. That's okay. Just keep listening. Your brain will adapt. Audiobooks are also incredible. A great way to start is to choose a book that you have already read and loved in your native language. Since you already know the story and the characters, you can relax and just let the English words wash over you. You can listen while you drive, while you cook, while you clean. It's an easy way to get hours of listening practice every week. And of course, there are movies and TV shows. But let's be strategic. The wrong way is to watch an American movie with subtitles in your native language. This only encourages your brain to keep translating. The right way is to watch with English subtitles. This connects the sound of the spoken English word to the sight of the written English word. A great tip is to start with a movie or a TV show that you have already seen dubbed in your own language, or something made for younger audiences, like a Disney or Pixar animated movie. The language in these films is often very clear and easy to understand. As you watch, try this exercise. After a scene finishes, hit pause and try to summarize what just happened in 1 or 2 simple English sentences, either in your head or out loud. This turns passive watching into active practice. Your goal should be to eventually, one day, watch it with no subtitles at all, just like a native speaker. By creating this digital English bubble with your phone, your social media, your podcasts, and your entertainment, you are sending a clear message to your brain. English is important. English is a part of our life now, and your brain will listen, and it will adapt. This leads us to our next very important technique, which is about the tools you use to learn. I want you to think about what you do when you find a new English word that you don't know. Most people will pull out their phone and use a translation app or a bilingual dictionary. They type in the English word, and they get the word in their native language. This seems quick and easy, but every time you do this, you are strengthening the habit of translating. You are practicing jumping out of English and back into your own language. From now on, I want you to try something different. I want you to start using an English-to-English dictionary, also called a monolingual dictionary. A learner's dictionary is the best choice, like the Merriam-Webster Learner's Dictionary or the Oxford Learner's Dictionary. You can find them online for free. Here's how it works. When you find a new word, for example, the word enormous, wow, you don't look for the translation. You look up enormous in your English-to-English dictionary. The definition it gives you will be in simple English. It might say, extremely large or very, very big. Do you see what just happened? You learned the meaning of a new, advanced word, enormous, iskad, by connecting it to simpler English words that you already know, like very and big. You never left the English language. You stayed in the English bubble. You are thinking in English. This builds a rich network of connections in your brain between English words. The word enormous is now linked to large and big, not to a word in your native language. This makes the word easier to remember and easier to use in a natural way when you are speaking. Using an English-to-English dictionary might feel slower at first. It requires a little more effort, but the long-term benefits are huge. You are not just learning one word at a time. You are learning to think, understand, and define your world entirely within the English language system. It's a powerful shift in your learning process, and it's a critical step toward breaking the translation habit for good. Now, you have started to change your environment and your learning tools. This is fantastic. You are now ready to move into the most important phase, active practice. It's time to connect your English thinking brain to your mouth and start making some sound. The first technique is all about learning the language in the same way native speakers do, not as a collection of single words, but as a collection of phrases or chunks. Think of it like this. If you build a house by laying every single brick one by one, you can do it, but it will be very slow. Native speakers don't build houses that way. They use pre-built sections of walls, windows that are already in frames, and doors that are already hung. Chunks are these pre-built sections. Using them is what makes speech fast, strong, and natural. A phrase like, by the way, on the other hand, or I see what you mean, is a single unit. We don't think about the individual words. We grab the whole chunk. So, how do you do this? You become a language detective. Your mission is to find and collect these chunks. When you are watching a movie or listening to a podcast, have a special notebook ready. Here's an exercise you can try. Find a short, 2-minute conversation in a TV show. Listen to it once, then listen again, and your only goal is to write down groups of 2, 3, or 4 words that seem to stick together. You'll be amazed at how many you find. But don't just collect random phrases. A great way to organize your notebook is by situation. This way, you're not just learning a phrase, you're learning a tool for a specific purpose. For example, you could have a page for chunks for expressing opinions, where you'd write phrases like, in my opinion, the way I see it, if you ask me, and to be perfectly honest. You could also have a page for chunks for managing a conversation with tools like, anyway, as I was saying, speaking of which, and sorry to interrupt, but another useful page would be chunks for telling a story with phrases like, it all started when, comma, long story short, and the next thing I knew. By learning phrases for a specific situation, you are preparing yourself for real conversations. But collecting them is only half the job. You must practice them. Here is the best way to do that, the chunk of the day method. Every morning, choose just one chunk from your notebook. Just one. Your mission for that day is to use it. Say it out loud. Use it in your internal monologue while you're making coffee. Use it in your 2-minute voice journal entry at night. For every new chunk, try to make 3 of your own example sentences. This active practice moves the chunk from something you recognize to something you can actually use. Now, for our next technique. This one might feel a little strange, a little weird at first, but I promise you, it is one of the most powerful exercises you can do to improve your fluency, your pronunciation, and to shut down the translating part of your brain. The technique is called shadowing. Think of shadowing as taking your mouth to the gym. It's a physical workout. The goal is not intellectual understanding. It's building muscle memory in your tongue, jaw, and lips. Shadowing is simple. You listen to a recording of someone speaking English, and you speak it out loud at the same time. You are their echo, their shadow. Here is a detailed 5-step guide to doing it effectively. Step 1 is to choose your material wisely. Find a short audio or video clip between 1 and 3 minutes long. A TED Talk, a news report, or a scene from a movie are all great. The most important things are that the speaker is clear and you have an accurate transcript. Step 2 is the first listen. Just listen to the clip once to understand the general topic. Step 3 is the read-along. Now, play the audio again, but this time, read the transcript out loud along with the speaker. This is like doing karaoke. You are connecting the sounds you hear with the words on the page and matching the speaker's pace. Do this 2 or 3 times. Step 4 is the shadow. This is the real workout. Put the transcript away, play the audio, and start speaking along with it, just a second or 2 behind the speaker. Your voice is their shadow. The first time you do this, it will feel messy. You will miss words. That is completely normal. The goal is to copy the rhythm, the pauses, and the melody, the music of the language. Finally, step 5 is the solo performance. After you have shadowed the clip a few times, turn the audio off. Look at the transcript and try to read a few sentences out loud on your own, trying to imitate the speaker's voice, intonation, and emotion from memory. This final step helps you internalize that natural English sound. Now, a few common problems. What if the speaker is too fast? No problem. Most video and audio players, like YouTube or podcast apps, have a playback speed setting. Slow it down to 0.75x. What if you don't understand what you're saying? It does not matter. Shadowing is not a comprehension exercise. It is a pronunciation and fluency exercise. Just 5 to 10 minutes of shadowing every day can produce incredible results. It is so fast that you have absolutely no time to translate. You are forced to hear English and produce English directly. It builds a direct highway between your ears and your mouth, completely bypassing the slow, traffic-filled road of translation. It might feel strange, but the results will be amazing. You are now armed with some of the best techniques to retrain your brain and your mouth. You're thinking in English, you're shadowing, you're learning in chunks. But all of this practice is like a sports team training for the big game. The real progress, the real fluency, happens when you get on the field and actually play. It happens when you have real conversations with real people. I know. For many of you listening, this is the scariest part. It's one thing to practice alone in your room where nobody can hear your mistakes. It's a completely different thing to speak with a native speaker and risk looking foolish. I want you to know that this fear is 100% normal. In fact, it's the biggest wall that stands between most learners and true fluency. But today, we are going to start breaking down that wall brick by brick. Let's first understand this fear. The fear you feel is not about your English ability. It's about your fear of being judged. You're afraid of making a mistake, of pausing for too long, of saying something that sounds silly. This fear paralyzes you. It makes your brain freeze. And even the simple English words you know suddenly disappear. Psychologists call one part of this the spotlight effect. We feel like a giant, bright spotlight is shining on us, and every single person is watching and judging our every move and every mistake. But the reality is, that spotlight is mostly in our own minds. Most people are not judging you. They are busy with their own thoughts, often thinking about what they are going to say next. They are your conversation partner, not your examiner. The other part of this fear is about our identity. In our native language, we are smart, funny, and competent adults. We fear that when we speak English, we will sound like a child. We fear that people will think we are less intelligent. Acknowledging this is the first step. It's okay to feel that way. But you have to remind yourself that your intelligence and your English level are two completely separate things. To overcome this, we have to change our goal. Most learners think the goal of a conversation is to speak with perfect grammar and a perfect accent. This is the wrong goal. It's an impossible goal. Native speakers don't even do this. The real goal of a conversation is much simpler: communication. Did the other person understand your message? Did you understand their message? If the answer is yes, then you have had a successful conversation. It doesn't matter if you made 5 grammar mistakes. It doesn't matter if you forgot a word. Communication is all that matters. From now on, I want you to think of mistakes differently. Mistakes are not failures. Mistakes are proof that you are trying. They are a sign of progress. Think about a baby learning to walk. Does a baby stand up and walk perfectly on the first try? Number. A baby falls down hundreds of times. But we don't call it failing, we call it learning. Every time the baby falls, its brain and muscles learn something new. Mistakes in English are your way of falling. Each mistake is a small lesson that helps your brain learn. So you should welcome your mistakes. They are your teachers. To help you feel more confident, here are some powerful practical strategies. First, start with low-stakes conversations. Don't make your first speaking practice a job interview. Start with something small and predictable. When you buy coffee, say, "Hello, how are you today?" to the barista. When you buy groceries, ask the cashier, "Did you have a busy day?" These interactions are short, they have a script, and the person is not expecting a long conversation. Each one is a small victory that builds your confidence. Second, when you feel nervous, become a great listener. The best strategy to take pressure off yourself is to ask good questions. People usually enjoy talking about themselves. Instead of worrying about what to say, focus on what you can ask. Prepare a few open-ended questions before you talk to a language partner, like, "What's a project you are working on that you're excited about?" Or, "What's the best thing that happened to you this week?" This keeps the conversation going and gives you more time to listen and think. Third, try this strange but effective mind trick. Set a mistake goal. Before a conversation, tell yourself, "My goal for this conversation is to make 10 mistakes." I know, it sounds crazy, but it works because it completely removes the fear of being perfect. Instead of trying to avoid mistakes, you are now looking for them. This gives you the freedom to just speak, to try new words, and to be playful. You'll probably find it's hard to even count 10 mistakes, and you'll be so relaxed that you'll speak more fluently. Fourth, prepare an escape phrase. When you are in the middle of a sentence and your mind goes blank, it's easy to panic. Instead, just have a simple phrase you can use. Something like, "Sorry, the word just escaped me." Or, "Let me see, how can I put this?" Saying this gives you back control. It shows the other person you are thinking, not that you are stuck, and it gives you a moment to breathe. And finally, please remember to smile. Your body language is so important. A friendly smile tells the other person that you are happy to be talking with them, and it makes them much more patient and helpful. Speaking English isn't an exam. It's a way to connect with another human being. Be kind to yourself. Be patient with your progress. And celebrate your small victories. After you finish a 15-minute conversation, don't focus on the mistakes you made. Focus on the fact that you did it. You faced your fear, and you communicated in another language. That is a huge accomplishment, and you should be very proud. As you get more comfortable with these new habits and your confidence grows, you might find yourself asking, "What's next?" You've built a strong foundation, and now you want to take your fluency to an even higher level. So I want to share a few final advanced tips to help you accelerate your progress and really start to master the art of thinking in English. Our first advanced tip is to become a curious translator of your own thoughts. Now, I know we've spent this whole time talking about not translating, but this is a different kind of translation. This isn't the passive word-for-word habit we want to break. This is an active, curious process of finding the English you need for your specific life. As you go about your day, you will still have many complex thoughts in your native language. When you notice a specific, interesting thought, I want you to pause and ask yourself a question. How would a native speaker express this exact idea? For example, maybe you're tending to your plants and you think in your own language, I need to move this plant to a bigger container because the roots don't have any more space. This is a perfect learning opportunity. You might not know the English verb to repot or the specific vocabulary around plants. This thought is a signal. It's telling you exactly what vocabulary you need to learn to talk about your own life and hobbies. So, you look it up. You learn, I need to repot this plant because it's root-bound. You are not just learning random words. You are learning the precise English that matters to you. Our next advanced tip is to supercharge your voice journal. A daily 2-minute recording is a great start. Now, let's give it more structure to push your skills. You can give yourself a different topic each day of the week. For instance, on Monday, you might talk about your goals for the week ahead, which practices the future tense. Then, on Tuesday, you could describe a favorite memory from your childhood to practice the past tense and storytelling. On Wednesday, you could give your opinion on a news story, and on Thursday, you could explain how to do something you are good at. Finally, on Friday, you can talk about your plans and hopes for the weekend. This structure ensures you are practicing a wide range of language functions, not just talking about what you did today. Now for a very powerful advanced technique, thinking in arguments. Once you are comfortable narrating your life and making simple decisions in English, you can start having small internal debates with yourself. The topic doesn't have to be serious. For example, I want to watch a movie tonight. Should I watch a comedy or a thriller? Well, a comedy would be relaxing, but I saw a good thriller last week and I want something similar. Also, I have to wake up early tomorrow, so maybe a thriller is too exciting. On the other hand, a good movie is a good movie. Okay, I've convinced myself. I will watch the thriller. Do you see what you're doing? You are practicing using connector words like but, so, because, and on the other hand. You are building logical arguments and connecting your ideas. This is a huge step towards the kind of complex thinking that defines true fluency. And a final creative tip, try the movie scene monologue. Watch a short, dramatic scene in a movie or TV show. Then, pause it. Choose one of the characters. Your challenge is to press record on your voice journal and improvise a monologue from that character's point of view. Explain what just happened, how you feel, and what you think will happen next. This is an amazing exercise for practicing emotional language and moving beyond simple descriptions to creative expression. And my final piece of advice today is perhaps the most important of all. Be patient and be consistent. Learning to think in a new language is not like flipping a switch. It's more like building a muscle. You can't go to the gym once and expect to be strong. The most advanced and fluent speakers are not the people with the most talent. They are the people with the most consistent habits. There will be good days and bad days. The key is to not give up. Consistency is everything. Practicing for just 20 minutes every day is 1,000 times more effective than trying to study for 5 hours only on a Sunday. It's the small, daily habits that retrain your brain and build that fluency muscle over time. So, let's take a moment and look back at the journey we have taken today. We started by understanding that translating, while useful for beginners, is a barrier that slows us down, makes us sound unnatural, and keeps us stuck in student mode. We learned that the key to fluency is to activate our native speaker mode by training our brain to think directly in English. We talked about powerful, practical ways to do this. You are going to start small by labeling the objects around you in English. You are going to narrate your daily actions in simple sentences. You are going to build an English immersion bubble for yourself by changing the language on your phone and enjoying movies and music in English. You'll use an English-to-English dictionary to build a rich network of words within your mind. You will become a detective, collecting and practicing language chunks. You will try the strange but powerful technique of shadowing to improve your pronunciation and flow. And most importantly, you will find the courage to have real conversations. Remembering that the goal is always communication, not perfection. You have the roadmap. You have all the tools you need. I want you to leave this podcast today feeling excited and feeling empowered. You absolutely can do this. You can change the way you process and speak English. You can break the translation habit. The fluent English speaker you want to be is not some far-off dream. They are already inside you, waiting for you to unlock them through new habits and consistent practice. The journey will take time, but every step you take, every simple sentence you think in English is a victory. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Sophia on the Best English Podcast. I hope you feel inspired to start your journey to more natural, faster speaking today. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to our channel so you never miss a lesson. And make sure to turn on the bell notification. That way, you'll be the first to know when a new episode is ready for you. Until next time, keep practicing and happy learning.